But speaking about competitions in training camp, so earlier this week I did a video speaking to the running back situation and the wide receiver situation because there's some competition, obviously, for the final roster spot in the running back room as well as the wide receiver room. Another very, very interesting battle is going to be in the cornerback room. And this is a unique situation for the 49ers because usually they don't have an abundance of riches when it comes to the cornerbacks. It's in the secondary. It's not necessarily a position that the 49ers have thrown, a lot of great assets in. They haven't drafted somebody with the first or second round, a corner in the first or second round at all through the Shanahan regime. And they've obviously made their biggest splash this offseason in signing a CB1 in Charvarius Ward. So that is obviously a way of deepening the cornerback room. However, the 49ers currently have 11 cornerbacks on the roster. And if they're going to carry over the same amount of players that they did last season, they're only going to be carrying over 6, right? And I don't really see why they would carry more than 6, just because, they tend to keep the most amount of players at the defensive line because they have so much depth there. So I'm going to list off, the corners that are on the roster right now and kind of give you my opinion of who might be the final 6. So we have Charvarius Ward, Emmanuel Mosley, Jason Verrett, Ambry Thomas, Samuel Womack, Darquez Dennard, Tariq Castro-Fields, Dante Johnson, Diamador Lenore, Kadar Holman, and Quantrez Knight. Okay, so those are the 11 corners that are currently on the roster that are going to be going into training camp. Now, if you notice, there's more than 6 names on there that are familiar to the 49ers faithful and that are fan favorites. So the reality is one of your, one of the fan favorites on the team most likely isn't going to make the 53-man roster, which, is a sad thing, but it is a business and you want to make sure you have the best players there on the field. So let's talk about it. So I think the locks. So I actually think there's 5 locks with the caveat. So the locks for me are Charvarius Ward, Emmanuel Mosley, Ambry Thomas, Samuel Womack, and Jason Verrett, right? And Jason Verrett is the caveat because if for some reason he isn't healthy, he might be somebody that they stash on the PUP list, which gives them an opportunity to bring in somebody else. But let's just assume that that Jason Verrett is going to come into training camp healthy. And the reason why I think that is because I think Kyle Shanahan has mentioned that he does have a chance to be healthy from day one of training camp, which obviously is a good sign. So Charvarius Ward, obviously CB1, Emmanuel Mosley and Ambry Thomas, I believe, are going to be fighting for CB2. I do think Mosley probably has the edge right now. Then Ambry Thomas, Jason Verrett, once he gets healthy, I think actually moves into CB1 and puts Charvarius Ward at CB2. But Jason Verrett makes out 4. Samuel Womack, obviously the 5th-round draft pick they drafted, has been showing a lot of good signs in the offseason so far. He's a lock. And then is the question mark. So we have Dennard, Tariq Castro-Field, Dante Johnson, Diamador Lenore, Kadar Holman, Quantrez Knight. The last 2 names probably are just guys that may make the practice squad or, just be cut overall. But let's talk about the 4. Dennard, Tariq Castro-Field, Dante Johnson, and Diamador Lenore. So Lenore obviously was drafted 5th round last year, showed some signs of being able to show some flashes last season, right? Last season training camp, the footage came out of him, playing well. He actually got onto the field quicker than Ambry Thomas did, even though Ambry was drafted higher than Diamador Lenore, but he's kind of fallen off after that. And you haven't really heard too much about him in a positive light since, the beginning of last year's training camp and, maybe the beginning of the season. So he's somebody who's definitely a question mark, and in my estimation, may not be somebody that makes the roster. So, and that's somebody I like. So that's kind of going to be sad to see. Tariq Castro-Fields obviously was a draft pick from this year. From indications, he hasn't been having the best offseason, is kind of, showing that there is a lot of room for growth for him. And in previous situations, he probably would have made the roster for the 49ers because they usually don't have this much talent in the cornerback room. But unfortunately, he got drafted to a team that actually put some emphasis on the cornerback room this offseason. And he might be a casualty of just not being good enough to make the final six. The two that I'm very interested in is Darqueze Dennard and Dante Johnson. And the reason why I think the final roster spot is going to be between those two. Obviously, Dennard is somebody who came into the season at end of last season, and he actually had a decent amount of playing time for the little amount of time that he spent with the 49ers. The 49ers as far as the corners, the opportunity for somebody to start most likely is going to be at that slot/nickel position. And that's what the position that the 49ers have used Dennard last season and seem to be, pushing towards him this season as well. Somebody who Shanahan has discussed as far as enjoying his ability and, being able, seeing enough out of him that, he has a chance to make the roster. Somebody that they are giving a lot of playing time at that slot position. So, does he show enough to be able to make the roster? Do they just keep him there because he is somebody who could specialize at that slot/nickel cornerback? Possibly. And then the other guy is Dante Johnson. Now, Dante Johnson, I know, is somebody who, people are up and down on as far as the faithful. For me personally, I'm a big fan of Dante Johnson. I know he's not necessarily this elite talent that is going to be your cornerback one. But when you're talking about a depth piece, he is somebody that I think is very valuable to a team. One, he could play on special teams. So even if he isn't making it on the field as a corner, he's still somebody who could impact your team as far as playing special teams. So I think there's value to that. Two, he's like the utility player for the 49ers. Much like how Daniel Brunskill is for the 49ers on the offensive line, Dante Johnson is that same type of player for the secondary out of the cornerbacks, right? He's somebody who could play on the outside and, play well. He's somebody who could play slot and play well. He's somebody that could even move into safety and play well. And I think that utility and that ability to play multiple positions and play it at a very decent level, I think that's valuable to have on a team. He's somebody who has been with the 49ers for, some time. He always comes back on these one-year deals, but he's very hard to not keep on your team just because he works really, really hard. He is obviously a great athlete. And I think, every time he gets an opportunity, he's not necessarily a weakness. He's somebody that I think definitely benefits the roster. So in my estimation, that's probably somebody I would want to make the team. We got a special guest coming in. My guy, Wayne Breezy. My man, how are you doing this beautiful Monday, brother?
I'm doing good. Now, that's how you bring somebody out, bro. That's how you do it. I got to work on my entrances, man. That's how you do it, bro.
Bro, I don't have as cool of a name as you. It just flows off. It's just like, Wayne Breezy. Like, it's just too easy, bro.
So you're not thinking... Whenever I say your name, like the So Real, I already think like I'm in my Pharrell moment where Jason like the Pharrell, for real, whatever. So I'm already in that moment whenever I bring you out. So that's why it's just mad cool, collected, man. What's going on, bro?
I love it, bro. Not too much, man. I love the get up, man. All orange out here, looking like Halloween, bro. I love it.
Hey, I gotta represent them. That's the only team I got left in the race, bro. Like it's the only team left.
I love it. I love it. But Breezy, you actually jumped in, and I'm really glad you jumped in at this point because it was when I wrote this question, it was something I really wanted to talk to you about. So, we last week we kind of discussed the running backs and the wide receivers as far as who we think is going to make the 53-man roster. Cornerback, though, is very is the same type of situation like the wide receivers. There's 5 guys that we're pretty sure are going to make it. Who's going to be the 6th? So I'm going to list 4 guys. So the 5 guys I think are going to make it. I don't know if you agree or disagree. It's Travarius Ward, Emmanuel Mosley, Jason Verrett, Ambry Thomas, and Samuel Womack. So those are the 5 that I think are locks to make it as far as the corners, right? Last year, the 49ers only carried 6. So that means that there's only 1 spot left. And there's 4 guys that I believe the faithful, are fan favorites and think that can make it, but only one of them, if we're sticking to who they carried last season, is going to make it. That's between Darqueze Dennard, Tariq Castro-Fields, Dante Johnson, and Diamador Lenore. So if you only had to pick one of those players to make it on the 53-man roster, out of those 4, Wayne, who are you bringing into the team?
That's a tough question because I feel like if I had to pick from a 49er standpoint, it would be Darqueze Dennard because he could play in the slot, and you're going to need, a couple of guys that can line up in the slot. Whether you go with the young guy like in Samuel Womack, who might not start right away, you might want to start with the veteran in the slot like a Darqueze Dennard, who did play week 17 in the slot against the Rams, or week 18 or whatever in the slot against the Rams, and played it pretty well. So I can see him being that guy that's gonna get the slot. I gotta throw you a curveball because I don't know. I know no one's gonna want to hear this, but I don't know if Jason Verrett is a lock to make the team. And so I think Jason Verrett and Diamador Lenore are gonna battle it out for one of those spots, bro. And I know people don't want to hear that, but it could be a possibility that those are the 2 that's gonna really battle it out. And depending on Jason Verrett's health or how they choose to do it, he might not make the squad initially because coming off the injury and then get stashed on a practice squad because they can put the veterans on the PS. So I don't think Verrett make the squad because just the way it's set up, it's just so
right. No, I did put the caveat because I do think that Jason Verrett might be stashed on the PUP to start out the season and keep them till the second half of the season. And if that is the case, then they get to bring in 2 guys, right? See, I personally think that if he gets on the PUP list, I do think Darqueze Dennard makes the team, but I also think Dante Johnson makes the team. And the reason why is, once again, much like we talked about as far as what they're going to be looking for out of the 6th wide receiver, I think they're going to be looking for that same utility out of the cornerbacks, meaning somebody that could play special teams. And Dante Johnson is somebody who has shown the ability to play in the special teams wing. And he's also somebody that they can move all throughout the field. Like, he's played the slot at a high level. He's played outside corner at a high level. He's played, even safety. And maybe at high level is a little bit of a stretch, but decent level, right? So for somebody that's filling in, he's played well enough where he's not necessarily a weakness. He's somebody that could hold his own in those positions. And when you have somebody like that, much like Brunskill is on the offensive line, I think that the 49ers value somebody that they can move around into multiple positions. So let's say Jason Verrett does make it. It's only going to come down to 1. Would you put in a Darqueze Dennard, or would you take a Dante Johnson that could play special teams and all around the field in the secondary?
See, I like your assessment on the Dante. It always going to come down to like me personally, I would pick Dante because of the versatility, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'm going to go with. But I think it's going to come down to what they do in camp. Like, can Dante Johnson take it another step further? He's definitely a yes man. They say, yo, I need you to go play here. He'll do it to his best ability. And sometimes it works out for the greater good, right? And so I think Dante is always going to have a spot on this roster at some point on this team. Same thing, I think Jordan Matthews finds a slot in the tight end room. I just feel like you want those super versatile guys also veteran. You're getting that too, right? So I think I would go with Dante even over Darquez.
I like that. And, something that I actually learned off of, your nitty gritty podcast when you guys were going through, who you think makes the defense. You guys were talking about how with the versatility and the depth of this cornerback room, we might be seeing nickel, dime, and quarter packages, right? So you guys were mentioning that the slot may not even come out of a guy like Samuel Womack or Darquez Denard or Dante Johnson. You think they're going to just use some of the talent, whether it be an Ambry Thomas or move a guy like Emmanuel Mosley, especially if Jason Verrett is healthy in there as well. Maybe even a Jason Verrett, I think, is who you listed on there if he's healthy. So can you talk a little bit about to the people that are listening right now, the benefit of bringing in all of these corners and playing them at the same time?
We were talking about running like a 3-3-5, right? It's like 3 linemen, 3 linebackers, and then like 5 DBs, right? Like, so that's your 11. And so now you got to think about the versatility of the DBs, right? Because no, they're not going to have like 5 wide receivers out there on the field. But this is the cool thing about running the 3-3-5. You have so many different pieces, like a Tavarius Moore who can play like that big nickel, or like that can cover your tight ends, that can cover your running backs. And so this adds to the coverage for your team. Like it would be almost impossible to throw. Now, if there's teams that's going to have like 5 wide receivers out there or whatever, then you're going to want to switch to the faster guys. But I like this 3-3-5 type of look. You could rush 3 linemen. I feel like they could get home. You can drop 3 linebackers still who also play coverage and can stop the run. And it all comes down to the personnel that's on the field. So we won't ever see this unless they bring out 5 wide. Now, depending on the 5 wide they bring out, whether they're going to line up a tight end out there, if it's a guy like Travis Kelce, which I don't even think the Chiefs have 5 wideouts anymore to a certain status like they did. Not losing Tyreek Hill was a benefit for us. I know Travis Kelce is still a problem, but I would love to see this once or twice just to see how it fares, because look at the talent that we have in our DB room, and we want to see them all play. And the question is, like, when will we ever see them all play? And so Ambry Thomas, Tavarius Moore, Jimmy Ward, Talanoa Hufanga, who I think like can play pass just as well. There's going to be some guys out there that we're just going to not see play a lot. But again, that type of package depends on how the offense comes out there and lines up. You know what I mean?
Can you see a path to where maybe the 49ers carry more corners than the 6 that they usually carry?
Yeah, so every year it's a different position. One year it was the wide receivers. They had like 7 or 8, I can't remember. And then last year they went OD with the defensive linemen.
Defensive linemen.
And we're thinking they're going to do the same thing this year. But this year they might have better quality at the defensive line, so they might not carry as many. And this will be the cornerback room because there's a lot of guys they need to see develop, right? We still want to see what Tavarius Moore can do. So, he's coming in. You want to see Womack in coverage. You want to see Tariq Castro-Fields. Who's got this team? He's a draft pick. He's going to make this team. Like, they're like, that's another thing. Like, he was a draft pick, so he's got to make the squad. So who's not making the squad? Like, draft picks make the squad. Like, they just automatically make it unless something freakishly happens. So if I'm not mistaken, Tariq Castro-Fields was drafted. So I think he's going to be on the squad. The question is Deommodore Lenoir going to make the squad? Like, so like,
I don't think he does. I think Lenoir is going to not make it. Yeah. And it's not because he's not a great player. It's just too many corners there, bro. There's too many bars, like they say in these rap battles, bro. It's too many bars. Like, you can't. There's too many. Like, how does he make it, bro? Who's he making it over? If Verrett's healthy, are you taking Lenoir or are you taking Verrett?
I told you, like, if Verrett's healthy, you got to take Verrett.
If Verrett's healthy, Wayne, he might be CB1, bro. Like, he might move Emmanuel Mosley to the bench, bro.
I listen. He might move Travarius Ward to the bench. Look, no, Travarius Ward's getting paid. No, seriously,
Yeah.
like I would take healthy Verrett over anybody. Like that's me personally, because you saw what Healthy Verrett was a lock. He was a lock. Like they tried to throw on him and they didn't work. And that's what everybody kept saying. Yo, when this kid is healthy, he's a different monster. The only caveat is, can he find a way to stay healthy? And I think that's why they bolstered up the cornerback room. You sign this guy to a 1-year deal. You allow him to come back on his own terms. It's not like he has an injury like a D Ford where it's questionable to the career of the player. It's just ACS, just wear and tear. So at some point, like, he's gonna have another healthy year, and this probably will be it. And so you can ease him back in. He doesn't have to play every down because you got the depth to play. You know what I'm saying? So I like a healthy Verrett. There's no way Verrett doesn't make this team. It's just more like,
is he gonna be a starter, or I mean, is he gonna be healthy, or are they gonna stash him? I don't think they cut him. I think they either stash him on PUP or he's healthy and makes the roster.
Yeah, I don't. Even if he's healthy, I don't think he starts, right? But that's the beauty of it. Mm-hmm. I think he understands that. His contract is saying that. And if I'm him, I wouldn't even want to start. I'm only getting paid, what, $4 million, if that? Don't start me, but when I come in, I ain't coming out. Like, I think that's the mindset. I'm hoping he has that mindset. If you put me in, it's a wrap. Just let y'all know. You know what I'm saying? But that's good for us, right?
Absolutely.
That's good for us because now we're stronger at that position. So
last year, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Caveat is around Diamondor. I just can't see him not making the squad. But now that I think about it, this room is deep.
So let's talk about kind of what you mentioned. So last year, the defensive line, they carried 11 people. And the reason why they did that, right, is because they knew if they cut anybody and try to put them on the practice squad, they were going to get swooped up by other teams. Now, they have, I think, like 15 or 16 defensive linemen right now. So there's no way they're going to be able to carry all of them. Like, there's just no possibility unless they want absolutely nobody else on depth at any other position. But you're thinking maybe they don't even keep 11. They might even keep less than 11, you think?
It would have to be one less, right?
So maybe like 10, and then you think they add that to the cornerback room?
They add it to the cornerback room because remember, you didn't even talk about the linebacker room on this episode yet, and that's got to be what, 5?
5, yeah. That's what they carried last year too. So that's pretty standard. They carry 5.
So let's go through those quick 5, right? Because we know the top 3, and then we're talking what, Oren Burks.
Well, we know 4 because Oren Burks has to make it. Oren Burks has to make it. So we know Aziz, Fred Warner, Dre Greenlaw, Oren Burks. So it's really about the 5th. And I think there's Flanagan Fowles plus 2 rookies that are going to be in training camp.
2 undrafted guys, right?
Yeah.
Like the kid from North Carolina and the other kid from I can't think of the school. And I heard he was having a great camp.
Yeah. But see, those are guys that you could maybe put on the practice squad and not lose, right? But I don't know.
I don't know. Cats be looking at the 49ers.
That's true.
Squads, man. I don't know what it is about our team, but they be looking.
At certain positions, right? If a running back gets cut, they're going to get swooped. If a defensive lineman gets cut, they're going to get swooped. If a linebacker gets cut, they're going to get swooped because those are positions that the 49ers do really well at developing.
Correct.
But, yeah, I mean, so let's say they do keep 10 linemen, which could be a possibility because I think they are healthier there than they were last season. So I think they had to carry more last season because there was just a lot more injuries, right? Nick Bosa was coming off of an injury, so you didn't know that. Kinlaw was still, in and out. And so now they have guys that are a little bit younger, healthier. So they may carry 10. Let's just assume that they do, which means now they carry 7 corners. Let's assume Verrett's healthy. So we got Ward, Mosley, Verrett, Ambry Thomas, Samuel Womack. You're saying Tariq Castro-Fields has to be on the roster because he just got drafted. Wayne, from the people that I've seen that have seen Tariq Castro-Fields play, they're saying he's not looking very good. So
neither did Diamondor Lenore.
Well, Diamondor Lenore looked really good. Remember, he was looking good in training camp. That's the reason why he got on the field before Ambry.
He had to get extra work. He got extra attention. So if you read the stories, you'll hear whoever the cornerbacks coach was, they had asked, they was like, how come y'all not giving Ambry Thomas like the same attention that you're giving Diamador Lenore? And it was like, because he just got to figure it out. Right.
Gotcha.
And so like they knew he was going to develop. It was just a matter of time. And he just needed the reps. But they worked with Diamador Lenore to kind of push him ahead. And you're right. He did get the reps before Ambry Thomas, but it didn't end well for him. I don't see how you regress that fast. That's weird. Like that was weird. And I don't know if it was because they were trying to convert him to inside to out, outside to in, whatever it was, or was there an injury? Whatever it was bad. And so you're right. Castro Fields, I just don't know. Do you not sign, but you signed him.
Right.
Castro Fields was signed, so how does he not make the squad? Like I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't know how the rookie contracts work for the later rounds, if those contracts are fully guaranteed, or are they contracts that you can just cut without any ramifications. But let's just talk about it. So 7, right? We got 5 that I think both of us agree are for sure making the team. So the last 2, we got Denard, Tariq Castro Fields, Dante Johnson, Diamador Lenore. Out of those 4, who were the 2?
I think Castro Fields makes this squad somehow because he could also be utilized in the special teams.
Okay.
It's gonna come down to Denard and Johnson and Lenore. That's tough.
You just mentioned all of them.
That's tough. That's hard.
So me personally, I would probably take Johnson and Denard, to be honest.
See, here's the thing. I think you take Lenore. All right, I got it. You take your young dudes and you stash the old dudes on the practice squad. Ain't nobody picking up Dante Johnson, and no one's gonna pick up Darqueze Denard. Matter of fact, we picked him up. So those are the guys you can stash on your practice squad, and then you can call them up whenever you need me. They'll clear waivers. So that's got to be the move, only because of the new rules. You know what I'm saying? So, like, by the rules, by the NFLPA rules, by the rules, you can stash more vets. I believe how many vets you can put? 11 vets on your practice squad now, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm not sure about that, but I do remember they did extend how many people you could bring. I don't know the exact number, though.
Especially with the vets. So that's the key wording. It's like you can have more vets. So I think it's 11 vets, and it may be like 4 or 5 other, whatever. So, when we're talking about vets, we're talking about those players that accrued, have a certain amount of accrued seasons. Yeah. So I think with that specific situation, I think you could get away with stashing Denard, pray that he clears waivers, and then boom, you got him to your beck and call. You know what I'm saying? He's still going to make his little money. He already signed his contract. And same thing with Dante Johnson. I think they're practice squad eligible. Oh, no, Dante, we got to check Johnson's accrued seasons, because after a certain amount of seasons, you can't. After a certain amount of starts, I'm sorry.
After a certain amount of starts, you kind of cut out. After a certain amount of starts, you can't what?
You can't be on the practice squad. So if he has, if Dante Johnson started a lot, he won't even be eligible for the practice squad.
Right.
So now you're going to have to put one of those dudes like Castro Fields. If he sucks, ain't nobody going to pick him up.
Right. Or Lenore. So maybe Lenore makes it to the practice squad.
I know for a fact, if he goes to the PS, somebody picking him up, and he's going to ball out with that team.
Seattle, probably. They love picking people up that 49ers cut, right? Yeah, man, it's interesting though. I think it's a thing that's kind of going under the radar, Wayne. Like even you, who I know is thinking about the team a lot, you didn't even realize how much competition there's going to be for that last spot, right? There's going to be some good players that you're either on the practice squad that may be lost to the team, or I don't know. I could see both ways. I could see them stashing the veterans, like you said, because they're most likely not to get picked up by another team. But I could also see the 49ers thinking, like, why would we stash these guys when these are the guys that we'd actually want to play in the game, like week 1? You know what I mean? So it's going to be an interesting thing. And it's kind of like the first time the 49ers really had this situation, because they usually don't put this many assets into corners. You know what I mean? They usually don't have this much talent there. So it's going to be fun to watch as far as training camp.